Have you ever felt like you weren't truly living, just surviving, and quietly wondered how to find your way back to yourself? In this episode, I share why turning 47 feels deeply emotional, how losing trust in my nervous system landed me in treatment 10 years ago, and how healing helped me return to the woman I was always meant to be. Hey lady, welcome to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. Do you struggle with self-doubt, setting boundaries, or feeling overwhelmed? My name is Alyssa, and I'm a highly sensitive woman who spent years trying to fit in, ignoring my own needs, and living in constant fear of disappointing others. But I finally discovered the power of embracing who I am, and now I don't feel so broken. In this podcast, you'll learn to find your voice, set boundaries, and live with bold confidence and inner peace. Grab a cozy blanket. It's time to connect with someone just like you. Welcome back to the Highly Sensitive Woman. It is episode 40, and I am recording this episode on my 47th birthday. And this birthday feels especially tender for me. If you have been listening from the very beginning, you know that I have dedicated this podcast to my grandmother who passed away when she was 47 years old. And growing up, I always knew that number. That was never really a secret, but it wasn't until I entered my 40s that I began to understand just how young she was when she passed away. And a few years ago, when I turned the age that she was when she was diagnosed with cancer, it really started to hit me. And then as 47 has been approaching over the last year, there has been this quiet weight that I really didn't see coming. It feels kind of like a milestone that's mixed with remembrance, and there is some grief. And there's also this very strange sense of arrival. And then an added layer to this birthday, there's something else that makes it deeply meaningful. And that is because 10 years ago, I spent my birthday in a mental health treatment facility. I had completely lost trust in myself. I did not know how to listen to my body, how to feel the feelings that I was feeling, or how to honor my nervous system. And during that period of time in my life, I was most definitely not living. I was merely existing. And what I didn't know then was what I was experiencing was very real. I was most definitely experiencing anxiety and depression. And the people around me were attributing it to a chemical imbalance. And I know that is a real thing, and I don't want to discount that. For me, I don't think that my anxiety and depression were necessarily coming from a chemical imbalance at that time. I think it was more of a result of not trusting my own intuition, and I had completely abandoned myself, and my nervous system was so dysregulated. I was not sleeping. I was not eating well. I was not taking care of myself well at all. And my thoughts and my emotions were spiraling and racing all of the time. I haven't talked a lot about kind of what led me to that place. And I want to be very clear that my previous marriage, there were a lot of good times, but there were also some struggles. And during this period of time, I was not listening to my own intuition about what was happening, even though I had evidence, and I was staying up at night and I was looking at that evidence, and I was just keeping all of that in, and I was not addressing the issue, and I was believing, quite frankly, lies that were being said to me, and I had just completely abandoned who I was and what I knew to be true. And I just sort of felt like I was losing it a little bit. And ultimately I did kind of lose it. And I ended up spending my 37th birthday in a mental health treatment facility. And while I was in there, there was a group session, and the question that we were asked during that group session is, what is your greatest fear? And there were people who put all sorts of things, some put spiders, or some put more meaningful, deep things. What I put on my piece of paper, my greatest fear was that I was going to get to the end of my life and never truly lived. And when those words came out of me on that piece of paper, I knew that something had to change. And over the last decade, the most important relationship that I have built is the one that I have built with myself and my nervous system. And I learned what regulating my nervous system actually looks like. I learned how to pause and allow myself to actually feel the sensations that are happening in my body. And sometimes there's a lot of discomfort that comes with that. I often describe it as being able to feel the chemicals moving through my body. And that is exactly what it feels like to me. And that used to be a very scary thing because I didn't understand what was happening, and I was so uncomfortable, and I just wanted that to go away, and I would do whatever it took to go away. But that usually meant ignoring what was happening and not addressing the issue and pretending like what my intuition and my intellect knew to be true was not true. And now I can allow myself to feel all of those sensations and not have that fear that comes on top of it and being afraid of those big emotions, because I know that I am strong enough to feel them without crumpling. I learned how to identify what emotion I am truly feeling and letting those emotions kind of move and come to the surface instead of shoving them down or aside because, frankly, someone else thinks that I should not be feeling those emotions, because I recognized that there are no bad emotions and I am allowed to feel whatever I am feeling. And in that process of listening, and with every promise that I kept, that I made to myself, I began to grow trust that I could take care of whatever emotion that I was feeling, and that I would be okay, and that I wouldn't crumble or break or wind up in that very dark, very, very scary place. And I want to just take a moment and pause and say, if you know that very dark and very scary place, I see you and I know what it is like. And I just want you to know that you are not alone and that there is hope and a way out. And as I grew that trust and that understanding, I learned how to dream again. And for a very long time, I couldn't. I remember doing an exercise really not even that long ago. It was just a few years ago with my coach, where we did this vision of your ideal life and what it would look like. And we got down to every little detail, and she walked us through an activity to kind of get those creative juices flowing. And when we got to the moment of reveal, mine was completely black. And survival mode just does not leave room for imagination. But as I began to create safety in my body and learned how really to manage all of the big emotions that I was feeling and just kind of put one foot in front of the other, so to speak, I started dreaming again. And some things that I really wanted in my life, some of them are big picture things, and some of them are just day-to-day things like silliness. I noticed that part of me was dying, and I was pretty serious all the time and just being very playful and silly. I remember when I was a teenager, I had gone to a movie with one of my friends, and in all of the theater, I think there were maybe 4 of us there to see that movie, and there were 2 seats that were missing, and I have no idea why they were missing. I also have no idea why my friend and I decided that that was where we needed to sit. And we sat on the floor in a pretty much empty movie theater to watch this movie, but we were just being silly teenagers. And that was kind of how I was growing up. And that part of me was long gone. And I started dreaming of being intentional to get that silliness back in my life, because it was so much who I am. And that part had just died, and I knew that I needed to get it back. Earlier this year, I told some people that I was going to start going to Purdue University football games, and I wanted to tailgate, and I wanted to have that whole experience. And I had this vision, and it has come true this year. And maybe one of the greatest experiences of 2025 for me was the first game that I went to and being back on campus. And it was such a beautiful thing, because I felt like my life had come full circle, and I had returned to who I was back when I was 18 and first stepping foot on that campus with all of these dreams and my future ahead of me. Another thing that I allowed myself to start dreaming about was the relationship that I wanted in my life. And I explicitly wrote out exactly what I wanted. And it was really about like the day-to-day life and how I wanted to feel. And it has been such a pleasure for that to come to fruition, and feels just a little bit extra special for it to have happened this year, and to have that as part of turning 47. Because at 47, I feel like a teenager again, and I am happier than I have ever been. I laugh daily. I have dance parties in the living room. And even when things are challenging, I now have an optimism that I am capable of figuring it out. And I have so much evidence of that before, of how I got out of that very, very dark place. And even when I didn't know what was next, I just took the next best step. And I didn't have, that 5-year vision. I didn't have it, but I just kind of took the next best step and the next best step. And it is because of that I know that whatever comes next, I am capable of figuring it out, and that I can manage the emotions that come with it, even if it's really hard. And the last 10 years have been a journey back to myself and who I truly am, and just kind of got lost along the way. And now I have a life that is filled with joy and connection, and the ability to ask for what I want and what I need, and understanding that my personality and my way of being is not wrong. If it's not like someone else's, it's just different, and that is okay. And I now trust my own intuition, and I don't allow myself to deny what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And many of you have said things to me like, oh my gosh, I wish that I could fill in the blank, or I never could fill in the blank. And I just want to say that I never leaped from a place of being broken to a place of being fulfilled. I just kept taking the next best action step for me, and regulated my nervous system along the way. And maybe that's where you begin to, because you don't have to have that 5-year vision. Is it great if you do? Yes, absolutely. And you can certainly take steps to getting there. But if you don't, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong or broken or bad about you. You can just take one step today. So, in honor of this 47th birthday and my belief that healing is an experience that is best supported together, and also because I am a big fan of gifting experiences rather than material things, I want to celebrate you. And I am gifting 4 free sessions to 7 new clients. And that is available from now through the end of January 2026. So if something in my story today resonated and spoke to your heart, I would love to walk beside you and to help you move from a place maybe of existing to truly living and having the life that you want, that includes whatever that looks like. And if it is silliness, girl, I am right there with you. I would love to hear from you, and it would be an honor to walk alongside you. You can reach out to schedule your consultation and we can talk about it and see if it would be a good fit. Until next time, take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may be feeling like she's broken too? I'd love it if you leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It brings me so much joy to know this podcast is helping you. Now it's time for me to stop talking and go soothe my senses in nature. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Take care.